Season 8 premiere, episodes 1 and 2. School Days. We get the double episode premiere again. I mean, technically last season we did get that as well, but it was 2 separate episodes. They weren't continuous. So, apparently they are really going to push the movie is canon. It's not going to be one of those, types of movies where it's just like, oh yeah, that happened, and technically it's canon, but we're not going to ever mention the movie ever again. It's like, no, we're immediately going to tell you, yes, the movie is canon, yes, it's important, yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're pushing it way too hard to sell toys, basically. Well, it's just like, go see the movie.
That, and I think they're also probably planting the seeds to, if they want to use movie canon characters in the show, it doesn't come out of left field. It doesn't take very long, and to say the things that need to be said to set that up is, yeah, those are actually in our universe. This is canon. If we want to bring in Tempest, we can bring in Tempest. If we want to bring in anybody from the movies, we can bring in, technically we did bring in the hippogriffs, which we didn't have before. So the hippogriffs are now canon both in the movie and in the show. So that's part of that pushing was, when that it was naval guy, I think he was naval or something, he's like, Queen Novo's navy or something or other. It's like, yes, okay, so now without the movie, who the heck is Queen Novo? Well, if you watch the movie, you know. If you didn't, well, it doesn't really matter as much, but the setting it up as this is canon helps with that. Though so far that's been pretty much the only bit of use of movie canon stuff in the show so far, but that doesn't mean that we won't see Tempest. So now we've got like a couple different.
They did reference Tempest in the episode.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but like actually having somebody show up that's related to the canon of the movies, like having Silverstream show up.
Is that better?
She's a hippogriff. So that didn't exist before. That wasn't a thing you could be before. Now with the movie canon, it exists, and that's the thing you can be. But what was I gonna say? But yeah, so now we've got like loads of characters that are just sort of wandering Equestria that can just pop in anywhere, because you got the pillars from last season. We've got Trixie, if she decides to, wander for a while. She could pick up and move at any time, go on a tour. We don't know. And now we've got Tempest as well. So we could very much have Twilight run into Star Swirl and Tempest at the same time. They just have to all be in the same city at the same time. So that would be an interesting mix of things, but that's a thing that is now canonically possible.
I honestly think it would have been a smarter choice for her to have to find different teachers, because they all have very busy lives already. And then, you now have a full-time job of being a teacher, as well as running a farm, as well as being a member of the Wonderbolts, as well as running a sanctuary, as well as throwing parties every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Plus, you get to do it for free.
And running 3 boutiques.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, I've got some notes on that, but that's a little further down my list. So far, we've only gotten down to past line 1 of my review notes. So apparently the map has expanded to include places outside of Equestria. So we'll have so we have that now open. They can now visit movie canon as well. Places not only have the characters come in, we can now have Capper drop by if he wants to. The
And the
pirates and whatnot. So that little bit of canon is there. So with with the school opening, will we see field trips? Yeah, it's just I have my magic school bus, flashbacks. Please let this be a normal field trip. With the
Flashbacks. I would watch
No
that
way.
Yeah, some students are going to die.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Tempest is out
That
spreading.
school was put together way too fast, too.
What?
That school was put together way too fast, too.
Well, we're not really told how long it
Okay,
took.
then why did she wait until it was put together to tell them that they're going to be teachers?
Yeah, that
So
was
either
pretty stupid.
So either it was put together really fast, or she waited until the last minute to tell them.
Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of. This doesn't make any sense in universe. Like, why
There
would
are
you do that?
loopholes so big you could drive a Mack truck through them
Yeah,
in this episode.
yeah.
I was not impressed as far as like
Give me those.
first
You're not gonna
episode
use it, give it
goes.
to me.
Yeah, the continuity was a little. There was some really rushed bits and bobs here. I mean,
The
but
entire story was really rushed for a two-parter.
yeah, and it didn't really flow. It's like, oh yes, oh we're doing this now. Oh, 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 we're doing that now. And then it's like, oh yeah, and oh yeah, you're now teachers, and oh yeah, that. And it's like,
So, I think the only part of this episode, the episodes I liked, was the fact Maurice LaMarche was in it. Quite honestly.
hello, Brian.
Hey, Maurice LaMarche is awesome. He's Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
So
You like
let's see.
LaMarche? He was Egon too.
So Tempest is out spreading the good word. Do you have a moment to talk about our friend Princess of Friendship? she's got that book they made last season. It's like, do you have a moment to talk about our Princess of Friendship?
No. Do you have a moment to talk about our God?
Well, she's pretty. The princesses are basically demigods, so to a certain point, kind of. Now, for all the stupid stuff Twilight does, for like the first few minutes, it's actually like, oh yeah, that's actually a decent thing to do. So she does something actually incredibly forward-thinking for her, and ask somebody who's done it in Celestia and about running a school. Turns out there really is a book on that, the EEA guidelines. But yeah, it's like, oh, that's promising. She's like, oh, I want to start a school. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna talk to Celestia. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not a bad idea. It's like,
I mean, that's kind of a throwback to the last season opener too.
yeah,
Turning to Celestia for advice on. Yeah, so what am I supposed to do now?
yeah,
And pretty much for the same exact reason too.
yeah. Except for, Starlight
Studied-
wasn't really that apprenticeship wasn't really run by EEA guidelines.
True.
But then again, considering her severe crimes, is like, yeah, that's more of a rehabilitation thing. So you get this line from Celestia: "Not even a princess can do whatever she likes when it comes to shaping young pony minds. The EA ensures that whether it's unicorns studying magic, Pegasi learning weather, or Earth ponies researching agriculture, all schools are held to the same high standard. They'll need to approve your plan before you can move forward. Yeah.
Well, that seems kind of specious. What if a Earth pony wants to learn magic?
True.
There is a certain biological limit to what they can learn, but yes,
But I mean, it's more than just agriculture that the Earth ponies know.
Yeah, I mean, Earth ponies are basically anything to do with food.
Unicorns can technically control the weather too, to a degree.
But yeah, I mean, anything to do with food is basically that's right up the Earth pony alley. Bakers and whatnot, because you don't need magic for that. They also tend to be really good at it, from what I can tell. Because I mean, the cakes, Earth ponies. Basically, almost. You got Sugar Belle is a unicorn, I think, isn't she? Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, there's a lot of Earth ponies in baking. But yeah, it could go all over this. But I guess she could only mention a few things, and these are sort of the stereotypical things that these.
Because every pony is a little bit racist.
And Celestia's been around for a while. But anyway. So, anyway, something that seems like it would be Twilight's forte, bureaucracy ho! So, the hearing room is pretty ominous for an education agency. It reminds me of that the kind of the courtroom from the Ministry of Magic from the Harry Potter series. I think that was the intent. A few plants here and some better lighting wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, you'd think that an education institution would have better lighting.
Yes, it's just like...
Well, I guess you can't really call them that bright.
Yeah, no. They're about as bright as Madrock.
But, yeah, some plants would do nicely to, some plants here, a little softer furniture, not looking so ominous might be a nice thing. Make it more welcoming. We get the
actually, what I thought of when I saw that was the Council of the Time Lords.
Yeah, that's. I haven't seen that much. I've seen a little bit.
Outfits.
But yeah, the only bit I remember ever seeing of that was the only thing I've seen of Gallifrey was like some snippets I've seen of like Six talking on the trial of a Time Lord and that sort of thing. It wasn't quite as ominous, but it wasn't, it was neither. It wasn't that nice and soft either. Anyway, so we get Hello Brain. So apparently, this is another bit of those things that doesn't make any sense. So Twilight is fully prepared for this, with fully printed plans despite having never handled the big book before. She like flips through it casually and is like, oh yeah, I'm totally ready anyway. She's like, oh yeah. She has like all these printed up documents, but it's like, she gets handed the book and goes, oh yeah, yep, that's fine. Here you go. It's like, yeah, all this already matched your thing, and I read it all in 10 seconds. And then
magical reading.
Yeah, and Naysay does the same thing. He goes to her plan, flips through it, and then just like boom, stamps it. It's like, really? I mean, wouldn't this need, you need multiple hearings, and need to talk about what this is, and there'd be adjustments, and this is not bureaucracy.
So, but
well, I mean, it's not like he missed the part where it says, and on the last day of school, all the students who failed will be fed to the dragons.
But, yeah, it's like...
Wait, the dragons would be fed to the dragons?
Nah, they'll just get a timeout.
Well, imagine you, depending on the dragon, some of them might not find cannibalism
Although
that off.
miss the fact that there were other species besides ponies in there.
Yeah.
Well, ponies are in fact known to be really delicious, but nobody's really tried other species. I mean, hippogriff could be a little bit too gamey.
I imagine it tastes like chicken.
No, they taste like fish.
It depends on which form they're in, I suppose. But one thing Nace does bring up that's valid is she does tend to run off at the drop of a hat on these Equestria saving adventures. It's like
Exactly.
it's like, really? You're gonna run a school? It's like I'll save my thoughts on her starting a school for when we finish.
Yeah. And you notice how she didn't really say, oh no, I definitely won't run off on one of these adventures.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, yeah.
You just-
She goes with. Look, I think this is the quote. I may be missing a line before this, but we want to keep our land safe and create a friendlier tomorrow. We need to teach the magic of friendship far and wide. A school for ponies to learn how to protect themselves. More like respecting differences and communicating. Nacy's like, the EA concerns. Every pony should be prepared to defend our way of life. So you haven't paid attention to a word she said. So if your work is in order, provisional EA approval is granted. We'll need to observe your school up and running before it can be fully accredited. It's like, you have not listened to a word. You obviously didn't read the plan. You didn't listen to a word she just said. Like, oh, you're going to put the ponies learn how to protect themselves and defend our way of life. It's like, no.
So ridiculous.
You didn't pay attention to a word she just said. Yeah. So we go back, and she kind of springs it on that. Yeah, I don't know whether. Well, it may have been already told that maybe they were just talking about how they were nervous about it. I don't know, but
No, because the way they said it, they're like, what are you talking about? It was more, they sounded way too surprised for it to be nerves.
yeah. Well, at least Applejack brings up the valid criticism of throwing ponies who have no formal, teacher training into classrooms is maybe not the wisest choice.
That was pretty much all my teachers.
Who have other jobs, who have a lot of responsibilities.
Well, to be fair, Rarity has other ponies who can run the boutiques.
Yeah, but she still has to manage them.
Yeah,
True.
That's not a small task in and of itself.
No.
She's got to take in all the information she's getting from Sassy and whatnot to run it all. But anyway,
Applejack has to run an entire farm, pretty much single-hoofedly.
she's got help. Yeah, she's
She's
got
got
help from
Big Mac.
Big Mac, and that's about it. Apple Bloom when she's not in school. But other than that, no, not really. She doesn't really have much.
Can't do much.
Yeah, she can do it. Yeah, she can maybe do some minor gardening and look after Apple Bloom when she's home from school. But other than that, she does a little bit of cooking. But yeah, she can't really go out there and farm like she used to.
Exactly. So,
Yeah. Apparently, Rainbow Dash is still afraid of being called an egghead for some reason. It's like, you came to terms with that stuff. That was the whole point of, was it Read and Weep? That was the whole point of that. And you showed you weren't afraid of being a nerd when she went to that con. It's like, yeah, you're a nerd about the reading, and that's cool. You're totally cool with that. Except you're not. It's like, you're a freaking Wonderbolt. you've gotten past this.
Yeah, but there's another thing. She's a Wonderbolt, which is basically the Army Reserves or Air Force Reserves or
So
whatever.
she's basically a Blue Angel.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, she still has to worry about training and shows and whatnot. I mean, they don't seem to have a lot of shows, but she needs to be able to go out there and deal with that whenever she wants. You know, when she was just like the Weather Service and Wonderbolt, she was in charge of the Weather Service for Ponyville for a long time. That was her job, and then she became a Wonderbolt Reserve. So I imagine she did a little bit of weather stuff and the Wonderbolt Reserve. And then she became a full-on Wonderbolt. So I imagine she just on her downtime she still does weather stuff, but at this point you're trying to be a full-time teacher, a Blue Angel, and control the weather. I mean, maybe you can let the weather control slide to somebody else because you got a lot of stuff on your plate, but you're definitely a Wonderbolt and definitely a teacher and also savior of Equestria. It's like,
yeah,
you can't juggle those three things. Teaching in and of itself is a freaking
full-time job.
That's a 12-hour-a-day job. Your lesson planning.
And that's not easy.
Yeah.
Taking into account lesson plans, reports,
lesson plans, grading,
tests,
yeah, all that stuff, all the curriculum she's got to help come up with and deliver and all that stuff. Plus,
and that's another big thing at the when they're showing their teaching methods, and then Twilight's going,
yeah.
They're supposed to have had a lesson plan, a pre-existing, pre-approved, planned out at least a week ahead, usually a semester ahead. So, she should have had it approved already. So why is she fixing it in the middle of the class?
Well, here's her lesson plan. Throw friendship at it.
Yeah, but no, it's like... And then how at the very end where it's like, I can't wait to make those lesson plans. No, the head teacher doesn't do lesson plans. Each teacher does their own lesson plan.
Well, usually the way it works is you have
by the head teacher.
You'll have like, oh, these two teachers are teaching the same subject. Like, say there's a couple teachers teaching the same subject. They'll write lesson plans together and they'll share off like, okay, I'll write something, you write something, and then we can work together for that. But there's no redundancy on anything, so every one of them has to write their own lesson plans. Now, you're not going to necessarily... You'll have a general idea of what's going out to a full semester, but you're going to be writing lesson plans maybe a week or two in advance. Okay, this is the general bent of the 6 weeks, and this is generally where we're going to be, and this is what we need to cover on these days, but you may not... You're going to have maybe 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time fully prepared, but that's if you haven't already written the curriculum. If you are, sometimes you walk in with, oh yeah, this is a senior teacher and she's got 20 years experience. Here's the lesson plans. This is how we do this. And you don't even have to write lesson plans. You just go, oh, okay, thank you. And you just do that.
This is what I did last year. Let's do this. But I mean, these guys, they're supposed to have done their own lesson plans. So they should have had the lesson plans pre-made.
Pre-approved and everything ready to roll day one.
Exactly. So
but
why
no, we're finding out we're supposed to be teaching. Well, the fact that one thing though is Rarity came dressed for the occasion. It's like she apparently knew to some extent, but how long they'd known, whether it was just that morning.
Rarity could have just reached into her magic closet and said, "Okay, I'm ready."
Yeah,
that's how she does it.
But anyway, if we don't move on. Whoa, okay.
Wow, that was staticky and loud. But my point is, Twilight should have already known what their lesson plan was. So why is she only just then fixing it?
Yeah. And yeah, she's way too active and way too mixing it up for a headmaster, for a principal. Okay, so okay, so before we get too bogged down, move on to my notes. We're only on page 2 of my notes. So we get the students are a mix of ponies and outsiders. We have griffins, dragons, yaks, changelings, and hippogriffs all attending with ponies. They all seem to fit into the cultural stereotype, except Oscillus. She is rather timid for a changeling. This Gallus is a griffin. He's very much a male season 1 Gilda. Not that mean, but he's got that same sort of attitude. We get Scooter Dragon and Smolder. Smolder's very dragony, competition, whatnot. Yona is very much the yak stereotype. It's just like, yes, yak thing is best. Yak thing is best. And Oscillus is a very
best pony.
Yeah. Oscillus is she's very timid. She's very Fluttershy, very early Fluttershy, who actually pays attention in class. We get Sandbar, who's kind of a chill pony, and then Silverstream, which is she's a hippogriff with Pinky's personality, but that cranked up to 11, which can get a little grating.
Yeah.
A little grating?
I'm trying to be nice about it. Which, ironically, Twilight's, she's by the book methodology. By the book. You didn't even bother writing lesson plans so you can be by the book. You're just like, oh yes, out of this massive book, this is how this must be done. It's like, didn't even bother reading their lesson plans. Either didn't read their lesson plan or they didn't write any lesson plans. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a problem. And she's still going by this massive book that just can't possibly have everything in it. It's a big book, but it can't possibly have all the lesson plans. Oh, you must not do that. It's like, did you not read the lesson plan or did you not write the lesson plan? There's only two explanations for this. They either did not write lesson plans or you did not read them. Otherwise, you would not have approved them. So we get like the little song of, oh, we're bored, but we kind of get a little overview of what they're doing. So Dash is teaching something about clouds, and she has some sort of pie chart, probably weather of some sort. Rarity's doing fashion and gems. AJ, she's got a picture of an apple, a strawberry, and an orange, but she's drawn X's on the strawberries and oranges. It's like, really?
Yeah, I love that part. It's like, no, these are bad. Only apple good. You should only eat apple.
But yeah, I mean, so at some point though, she must have talked about oranges in comparison to apples, and so at one point she was comparing apples to oranges. Anyway, and later on in this sort of song, we get apple bucking for some reason. Why they would? Maybe she's trying to teach physics. I don't know. Fluttershy,
Or
she's probably
how to be a bucker.
Fluttershy's probably got the most school-like thing. Basically teaching biology. Her first thing is animals, birds and bunnies on the board. Later she knows a tree of life and spiders. She goes through that. Pinky's first board is the equation happy equals cupcake times eggs plus bottle of some sort, and like some sort of, I don't know if it was cider or whatnot, but it's like eggs plus cider times cupcake equals happy. Also,
Makes sense to me.
she also has another equation where laughter equals chair plus whoopee cushion. Also, smile with honking a horn. It's basically diagramming honking a horn. It's like, so we get that sort of, we're bored, we don't know what we're doing because we didn't plan this out. So we get, so they're out in the hall, they're bored, they're like, so the Griffin and Dragon sort of arrogance and sort of competitiveness really starts some friction with the rest of the sort of group.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, so how many days of class do you think they actually had before they had the family and friends picnic thing?
it was on day 2 because it looks, from what I can tell, it looks like they went day 1. Day 2 is day 1 was the first song, and then day 2 was it seemed like was the day that they cut class and the day that there was the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it should have been like a week or two.
Even homecoming is like 2 weeks in at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, open houses are usually a bit later than that. Yeah, but waiting 2 days for the accreditation people to go in, it's like, yeah, maybe you should let them get a week or so in before you start, at least a week in.
Either the first day or, a few weeks in. The first day it would have been like, the welcome committee type thing. That I'd understand. But day 2, not so much.
Yeah. So, in an interesting bit of, I don't know, irony, but Gallus and Smolder are too tough for friendship, but then proceed to fist bump.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because nobody's too manly for a fist bump.
You're too tough for friendship, but you're creating friendship. Anyway, the group has to be separated to prevent a fight. So, day 2, Twilight insists the rules will guide them to a working school. They just have to be better implemented. Her faith in the rules allows her to be at least outwardly calm. She may be a duck on the water, but she's at least outwardly calm. So at this point, the group's bored. They decide to cut class. At this point, they're nearly caught by Fluttershy, but Oscillus fools her with a rarity disguise. And the group
Pretty good one, too.
Yeah, well, just changeling, so.
I mean, the voice and the acting and stuff.
Yeah, well, they spent some time with Rarity at some point or other during the day, so I imagine she's picked up on a...
I'm so fabulous. Oh, yeah, strange generosity.
Well, and and it's sort of, it's shown that she does actually pay attention in class later on. It's like, yeah, she actually does pay attention. It's like, you seriously not listen to anything Professor Fluttershy had to say? It's like, really? So otherwise, the group bonds by the lake, and they're starting to really, breakfast club it up. So Naysay riffs in, suspicious as Dash tries to cover the fact her students are missing. At this point, the little group is flying over to the party to catch up with everybody. They reach it and literally crash it. Panicking guess. Apparently, Derpy had a reason to be at the school. I don't know what her, maybe she has fools of her own. but
Yeah, Ditsy do, remember?
yeah, but like it's always been sort of iffy on the canon on that, whether they're maybe they're sisters, maybe they're brother and daughter. It's always been sort of sketchy as to exactly what that relationship was. They never really flesh that out. They just kind of leave it open to.
It's simple. Ditsy is a clone of Derpy.
Except she's a unicorn. Derpy is a Pegasus.
Well, I never said the cloning was perfect.
And she's an entirely different coat color. She's purple.
Yeah, not perfect cloning.
Anyway, though that's less of a problem with cloning because Cece and the cat she was cloned from didn't look alike, because it was, that gets into a whole bit of biology there that we'll get into. But anyway, the Chancellor misinterprets the incident as an attack. He realizes that Twilight has actually invited students from other species, and is like what? I didn't read any of your thing or listen to anything you had to say that would suggest that you were going to invite anyone out. You were going to try to invite races from outside of Equestria, and I didn't pay attention. When it's like, really, you didn't pay any attention to this. So he quickly goes on a rant that could have started a war or at least strained diplomatic relations with all of Equestria's neighbors after they were finally starting to improve. Because if you think about it, they had before like the last couple seasons, they had no contact with the Axe. Nobody had talked to the Axe in years. So we didn't have that. The Changelings weren't reformed. Now they're reformed, so now they're making peace with them. The dragons have now, with Ember in charge because of Spike, now they have better relations with them. Hippogriffs, the whole movie was them, was not whole movie, but a good chunk of the movie was dedicated to improving relations with the Hippogriffs, though that kind of went south. But, I mean, pretty much every one of the species that joined, was somebody that they've worked over the last few seasons to improve relations with. It's like everybody has like all of these characters, these new characters are all representatives of species that they are just now getting foreign relations up to snuff with. It's like, yes, we're all of our relations are warming, and Chancellor comes by and just pours cold water all over that. I mean, he's part right in blaming poor teaching, because they don't really have any sort of teaching credentials or any sort of seemingly organized bit of schooling outside of the big book says that we should do it this way, so we must do it this way. It's like, but he's dead wrong on the students admitted. He's like, you shouldn't have admitted these students. They are reckless and dangerous, and we shouldn't allow them into, friendship should only be for ponies.
Racist pony is racist.
But anyway, he locks the whole place down with a big seal. Part 2. So we get Twi sobbing under the covers while sad music plays. In universe this time, it's another one of those gags like they did with the Rainbow Dad and Dash's Closet of Awesome. It's like, because Spike reaches over there and goes, "What?" But after he can't kind of shake her loose of her depression, Spike brings it in back up with Granny's apple mash. Fluttershy trying to get her with a hug from Angel. Pinky brings in cupcakes, and Rarity brings in a dress, though I don't think it's really going to help much because it looks like a jester's outfit.
Yeah.
It's got all the little bells. It's got the big collar. It looks like a jester's outfit. And it's like, really, I didn't feel enough like a clown. Thank you. and we get this little exchange. Twilight's still tearing up. Thanks, Rarity. It's a great dress for somebody who knows how to run a school. Loves me.
If you knew how to run a school, you'd not be wearing that dress.
Yeah, no. Well, Frizzle seems to be, her dresses can be quite extreme, so I'm not going to go.
Sure, no.
Pinky says, you didn't tell me this was a pity party. I would have brought ice cream.
Although, Frizzle's dresses, they may be pretty extreme with, their pattern, but they're pretty much all the same template.
Fair enough, but still, wild patterns. But yeah, Pinky goes, you didn't tell me this was a pity party. I would have brought ice cream. Rarity would appreciate that. Twilight says, I appreciate you trying to make me feel better, but not everything can be fixed with dresses and cupcakes.
No, do not say that.
Just gasps and shock. It's like, it can't be fixed with dresses and ice cream?
That gave me a heart attack.
He's what? So I just need some time to be alone and think. So at this point, Glim Glam tells Twi to screw the rules and that she gave up too easily. Also, she's the guidance counselor. Okay. I guess she's shown she has reformed, but I guess she needed a guidance counselor, and there we go. She can be a little blunt, so sometimes that's helpful. Twilight wants to reopen school and have her friends teach things their own way, so actually follow lesson plans that they're going to make. Also, apparently, Pinky has a party cannon styled for each of the main 7. At this point, they set out to recover the students, but they've gone missing.
No!
Ominous reverb. Anyway, so the missing students are creating an international incident, as there's a lot of suspicion that someone is abducting them, despite the note they want to stay together, that they all left in front of Celestia, that are all fighting and trying to. She tells White, "Go find them! Just go find them before this blows up. There might be war." But Twilight is sort of happy that they, they learned friendship. Anyway, so for some reason, I guess Pinky had to work, and they were like, okay, well, we can still meet up at Sugar Cube Corner and talk it out there, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Which is fortunate, because the group meets up at Sugar Cube Corner. Conveniently, while they're trying to work things out, Sandbar buys a load of cupcakes and is acting very suspiciously. Had they been meeting in the throne room, who knows what would have happened in terms of how long it would have taken them to figure things out. So,
Probably after Equestria was destroyed.
So they follow him to the castle of the two sisters. In the excitement of cupcakes and pillow fights, Silverstream discovers stairs.
Stairs!
And she should definitely visit the Crystal Empire Palace.
Oh, yeah.
It would blow her mind.
Yeah, I was just thinking, photoshopping her into that, in the scene where Summer has this giant stairs up to the Crystal Heart. She's like, stairs! Oh, God, now I want to ship those two.
Oh, God, no. It's probably been done by now. Somebody has done something with that.
It's like, hey, darling, you want to see some big stairs? So, I know what I want to make is, apparently she can go see Pony whenever she wants to without the help of that big shiny thing.
Yeah.
The pearl? Yeah.
If If the King Sombra blog is any indication, King Sombra would still find her quite annoying. Yeah. Let's see. They found. Okay. So we get a small furry animal pops out. First glance, I thought it was going to be a bush willy. They were bringing in bush willies. But then Phyllis actually pays attention in Fluttershy class and says, "No, that's Puckwudgie." Which apparently they can turn spiky with great big pointy teeth. Which makes me want to make a Sorcerer Tim reference there.
Some call me Tim.
The Puckwudgie can apparently fire its quills in rapid fire, and they approach menacingly. At this point, the main 7 run in to rescue. Dash swoops up some of the Puckwudgies and pins them to a tree. She then executes a little sonic boom, which I thought was a nice little touch at the end. She's like, shing, ding, 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 and puts them up against the trees, and then kind of does her little salute, and then cracks the sound barrier casually, just sort of shook. Really?
The most funny part of that is Fluttershy's like, okay, now let's ask him to leave nicely. Shoves them all in a cannon and fires them.
Yeah. Glim and Twi sweep them out with a shield spell. Rarity styles one. I suppose that neutralized them, but okay. Yeah, Fluttershy tries giving one a hug. AJ lassos a few, and Pinky fires a few out of her cannon with little parachutes, because we had to show the little parachutes, otherwise this would get a little dark.
That's asking them to leave nicely.
It would get a little dark.
Not like My Little Pony hasn't gone to dark before.
Yes, but against small furry creatures, not really.
Hey, Summer was furry.
Small.
Well, he's My Little Pony, so...
Well, he's the same size as them, or slightly bigger. Anyway, so kids want to go back to school under the new rules. Twi breaks the seal. And after they all sort of reunite at the school, it's like, okay, international incident averted. We found them. They're safe. They're fine. We got them. So Naysay pops out of it. He complains, but she screws the rules. And pops down her own new rules. It's like, screw rules. These are my rules. Book drop. And so they sing a song, and we see sort of how they're going to run the school in the future. And then it cuts back to them in the present, going, yes, okay, we'll allow it. Begrudgingly, it's like, yes, we'll allow you to go. It's not going to be accredited, but it's a friendship school run by the Princess of Friendship with friendship rules.
Yeah, as far as Naysay goes, I wonder who's gonna come back as a villain later on and get reformed.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, they need more villains, and he's at least not from 1,000 years ago.
Although they could wait like 1,000 years to say, Princess, I am Princess Sparkle, and this was my villain from 1,000 years ago. Now you have to defeat him, my student.
But yeah, I was gonna say, shoot, I forgot what to say. But yeah, yeah, Naysay is definitely, he's not from 1,000 years ago, and he fights the way Twilight really understands, with bureaucracy. Because had Twilight not become the Princess of Friendship, she would have made an outstanding bureaucrat.
Yeah.
A terrible headmaster, but wonderful bureaucrat. Yes, this is in triplicate. You didn't file this in triplicate with 3 forms, and all the signatures of these certain. Nope, rejected. You didn't get all the forms we needed. You have to go get that. You have to get file number 36A, not 36A-2. You got 36A-2. We need 36A. It's like, but overall, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the school. Them starting up a school. I understand why they're doing it, because they really need new arcs, and because they've completed a lot of their arcs. I mean, because Fluttershy's fair at this point. She's fairly assertive. AJ really didn't have an arc so much. She's just sort of kind of been the same thing for a very long time. She's got like one fault, and it's like, yes, we hammer that every once in a while. She's got like two faults, and they hit that every once in a while, but it sort of loses steam after a while when you do it. She's got a bit of stubbornness, she's got a bit of pride, but otherwise she's fine. Twilight has become a princess. Rainbow Dash is a wonderful. Rarity has 3 boutiques. Fluttershy's got her sanctuary. I mean, who am I forgetting? Pinkie. Well, Pinkie didn't really have much in the way of aspirations. She's mostly just, I want to plan parties, and she's doing that. So,
Yeah.
And the Q and Mark Crusaders got their marks. So, and they've got their new sort of way of doing things, but helping out, helping, fillies and colts get their marks, but that's their new arc. But the main 6 is sort of, even Glimmer has mostly finished her growth, so they need new blood to work plots off of, because they've grown too much over the years, and now they have a hard time finding things for them to grow on. Like, oh yes, they need to grow by, they confront a problem, they learn a lesson, they grow. It's like, but now we've learned all these lessons already, so yeah. But I still, I'm not a huge fan of it with all the other things that from an in-universe standpoint. The main 6 already have a ton of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe Twilight, she doesn't seem to have a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because she's the princess of friendship. The princess, but she's so bored she decided to create a school.
Yeah. I mean, everybody else is busy with something except for her. And she seems to have paperwork. We saw that in that one episode where she decided to take a vacation. She does have princess work to do, but it's
really not enough to keep her busy.
Yeah, she doesn't have near enough, because she's not wanting to relax. She's wanting to do more stuff on top of the adventuring. Like all of these ponies have a day job that they do. AJ farms, Rarity runs her businesses, Rainbow Dash is a wonderful, Fluttershy has her sanctuary, Pinkie works with the cakes, and on top of all that, they also do all the adventuring with her, and so now on top of that, they're all teaching as well, doing a full-time teaching job as well.
Wait, see, here's a note I want to make on the school, though. I don't really think the school, now I might be completely wrong here, but I don't really think the school is a full school. I think they might actually do it like a weekend school, like Saturday and Sunday. Because remember, there technically already is a school run by Miss Cheerly.
No. They created a new school behind the castle, and if you remember, they live there because they're from all over Equestria.
Yeah, they mentioned the rooms. They mentioned the dormitories. So they live there. That's a full-time boarding school.
Yeah, because it's kind of like Hogwarts. You need to They come from far and wide.
Yeah. It's like Hogwarts or in-universe Celestia School for Gifted Unicorns.
Xavier.
But yeah, so I mean, that's a full school. But yeah, it just has them doing too much. I know you have the rule of cool, and this will work. This is a cool thing, but why are we? This wasn't a necessity, you know. This was, you know. I understand.
It's just too forced. The whole episode just felt way too forced.
Yeah, and a lot of the conflicts, you know, in the early parts come from, yeah, you didn't plan at all. It's like
Exactly.
the first song of her correcting them. Oh, you must do this by the book, sort of thing. That would all be fixed if you'd actually properly done lesson plans. And
Yeah, if you
approved
have done your job.
Yeah, if you're going to start a school, if you're not going to start a school, you don't have these responsibilities. If you are going to start a school, you have these responsibilities, especially as a headmaster, considering you don't have department chairs to oversee things. Like, you know, if you had like a biology department, they would have a biology, you know, somebody in charge of biology. You'd have biology meetups and whatnot. But since everybody reports directly to you, since you have so few teachers, the buck stops with you. Lesson planning, the teachers need to do it, but they need to give it to you. And you need to approve it, and you need to know what they're going to do, know their methods, and go, yes, that's okay, that's cool. And then you don't have these problems of, oh yeah, we're having to break up your lesson plan halfway through the lesson to do it in a totally different way. When, you know, in fact, the students were engaged, which is 90% of the battle, is getting students to care. And if what you're doing is working, it's like, are they learning? Yes. Is it working? Yes.
Kind of.
Leave it alone. That's like 90% of the fight is getting kids engaged, so just, you know, let them do it.
And then at the end where she's like, I can't wait to write out your lesson plans. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Especially
if they're going to be teaching in their own way, they need to be writing the lesson plans. What are we going to be covering? This. Okay, you can have standards and say, okay, we need to be covering this, and this, and say, I want you to teach this subject, but you need to cover this material, but they do it. They come up with the way they're going to cover it. They have to
write out the plan on how it's going to be done their way, because they're the ones going to be teaching it.
Yeah, if it's their way, if you're emphasizing that it's going to be their way, you need to let them write the lesson plans. You can say what standards you want to, what do you want them to teach them. You set out those standards, but how they get to it, if you're going to let them do their thing, you got to let them write the lesson plans. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Anyway, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of this, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this? Nope.
So here's some things, like at least one thing I like to see in an upcoming episode, or I mean, I know it's would never happen, it'd just be funny as hell. Discord, right? Getting called on a friendship quest by himself. Just going to another place, trying to make two ponies become friends with each other, and just keeps on failing at it miserably.
But anyway.
But it should be like a pony who likes doing tricks on other ponies, but the ponies don't like it. Discord's like, although tricks are sometimes fun, it doesn't always make friends.
They're for kids.
Yeah. And you guys gave me an idea for something. I really have the urge to dub the trailer for the Breakfast Club over some of the parts of the episode.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Yeah, I think I mentioned that earlier. Breakfast Clubbing it up. But the interesting thing about this is it also opens the door to guest lecturers.
I know.
Roger, Discord is a teacher.
Guest
Dear
lecturer.
God, no.
Guest lecturer.
Professor
He pops in every once in a while. Yeah.
Just call me Professor Discord.
Oh,
And what are you going to be teaching? I'm going
Chaos.
to be teaching fun.
And chaos. And friendship. Friendship, yes, friendship definitely. And a little bit of chaos. Just a
The
little
chaos of friendship.
Okay, there'll be a fair amount of chaos, but friendship will definitely be in there. Okay, it's a lot of chaos, a little bit of friendship. But the friendship will still be there, yeah. Okay, almost all of chaos, but
I put the fiend in friendship.
anyway, any last words? Considering we're past 11 o'clock on this one.
I think Pinkie Pie has an infinite supply of cannons.
That does seem to be the case. She at least has 7. Well,
Mm,
7 for each, 1 for each, plus the world's tiniest cannon.
Yeah, that.
She's got 1 for each of the main 7, plus the tiny cannon.
Which makes me wonder is why was she so upset when she gave away her cannon to get that present for Maud?
It was her favorite cannon.
That was her personal cannon. That wasn't a cannon she designed for each of her friends. That was her personal cannon.
Ah.
And so, yeah.
Mhm.
And if she strapped it on her head, it'd be a head cannon.
I have plenty of those.
I do like the reusing of the incoming fun helmet in the beginning of that. But anyway, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say on this.
Oh, wait. Who's paying for the school?
That's not a At this point, do we really, pay attention to this? It's like on the money. If she was like, where does all this money come from that suddenly appears for this and that? Oh, book sales. The friendship book sales. That's probably brought her a few bits, and that's probably what she's going. Hey, I made all this money from friendship.
Yeah, you realize she was pretty much gonna have to run the whole school by herself, right?
Friendship merchandising.
Yeah, no, Starlight Glimmer is gonna pretty much run the whole school. It's like, I've been teaching all the classes because Applejack has apple bucking. All you guys have other stuff to do. This was not thought out.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, I think that's my current sort of Wizard did it for any time from here on for Twilight. If she has money that just sort of appears out of nowhere, yeah, it's book sale. The book sales still generating revenue for her. She's got that.
How do you best princess? Be me. No, that would be a whole book, just a bunch of words that say "be me, be me, be me, be me" by Twilight Sparkle.
Yeah, and there's eventually, maybe it made enough that it's now a trust, and now they can run the school off the interest. That's a lot of money, but they did sell it all over Equestria, and it is one school, so maybe she's
Yeah.
getting a stipend as well from the, you know, it's like here's some, here's a kind of a princess stipend. You're basically governing. You're government now. Here's your stipend for whatever you need, and she just
Yeah.
it's part of what pays for it. She doesn't require guards, so of all the princesses, she doesn't require pretty much any sort of manpower. She just
Well, yeah, because compared to the other princesses, she's God.
she does have sort of friends that help her out, and she's got one sort of assistant. She's got a couple assistants. She's got Spike and Glimmer to help her as her sort of personal assistants, but she doesn't have any guard ponies whatsoever. So it's like, though that's that could easily change, but they could easily like, oh yes, you're going to have guards now. I don't want guards. I don't need guards. I'm Princess of Friendship. It's like, you will have guards.
You just reminded me of something. So is Smolder like Ember's daughter or something, or just like a
No,
random
I don't
dragon?
think so. I think she's just another dragon that
Yeah, probably the same thing with the two.
I am the Dragon Lord, and you will go there. It's like, she's not really her parent, but she's the
Yeah.
Dragon Lord, so probably just goes, yes, hey, oh, you're about the right age. You're going to school.
I know, that's the idea for a comic. It's like Spike's like, oh, new dragon, and she's like, Spike, I have something to tell you.
Oh.
Remember that night? Yeah, this is your daughter.
How did that, what,
A baby dragon with babies dragon? No.
Yeah, okay. Spike is as old as Twilight, so he doesn't count as a baby.
Not quite as old as Twilight. He was a baby when she was sort of, I don't know.
Still, pretty up there in age.
But yeah, I imagine Spike and Ember are relatively close. Ember's a little older, but not exceedingly different in age.
I never said the comic would make sense.
Yeah, and the color scheme doesn't make sense either. It's like blue dragon, purple dragon, orange.
Yeah, the color scheme makes total sense.
But anyway, let's see. I think that's all I can think of.
Yeah, same.